Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Cody, this is Val, and we've been on YouTube here for a while in the personal finance sphere, chasing down debt freedom and regular budgeting, and now we're working towards at least learning about financial independence, and we wanted to share some of our findings and tips and tricks and the fruits of our research with you guys to hopefully make your journey easier. So in that vein, today we are talking about tips and tricks to stay within your budget, because we all budget for things, we all have categories, and it's really easy to just blow that budget right out of the water and overspend. So we want to help you guys not do that, because it sucks.
Yes. So this was a request from one of our subscribers. They had asked for us to do a video on this, and we are happy to oblige because we are here for you guys. So one of the biggest things that we tell people when they start budgeting, whether you're new to budgeting or you've been budgeting for a while and you're struggling with a category that you're overspending in, is I would encourage you to look back at your spending over 3 months and then average it out. If you use YNAB or You Need a Budget, which is a budgeting software, and I'll link it down below, it'll actually tell you, as you've been using the software for a number of months, it'll tell you how much you how much you spend on average in that account. But if you don't have some kind of software that you're using, you'll have to manually go back through your bank records and figure it out.
Which can be incredibly helpful the first time, just to really drill it into your head and get familiar with it.
Yeah.
But it's also tedious and time consuming, and I totally understand if you don't want to do that.
Yeah. But if you can, if you'll take the time to do it, it gives you a really good idea of how much you're spending in a category. Because if you're overspending every month, you want to be realistic about the goal that you're setting. Now, to be fair, you may decide you still want to cut back on it. Like 7 years ago when Cody and I started budgeting together, and we went back through our bank records, and we were spending over $2,400 a month on dining out.
Yeah.
My entire monthly take-home salary went to dining out.
This lady worked full-time so that we could dine out. And we weren't going to the Keg or Tony Roma's.
We did though. We did more then. We did more then.
Primarily we were eating at McDonald's.
Yeah. No wonder we gained so much weight.
Yeah. Me, currently, minus about 60 pounds, is the guy Val fell in love with.
I still love this guy.
Yeah, I have a much better haircut now.
Anyway, so again, you want to get a realistic idea of what your average spending was and budget for that amount if that's realistic to do so. If it's not, and you're like us and you're drastically overspending and you'd rather redirect that money to something else, then it becomes a behavioral thing.
Yeah.
There's a behavior that you need to change. So for us, it was our behavior of dining out.
Yeah. It could also be part of why we dine out so much, and part of why it's still a problem for us, although to a much lesser degree, is that we like the convenience of just driving up to the window or sitting at the table, and we don't have to clean up, we don't have to prep anything.
Yeah.
It's just nice to have it done for us. And every now and then, we all get into ruts when we're cooking, and it's nice to just have something different. Even if I only ever order the same thing from McDonald's, it's not any of the 3 things I cook at home.
Yeah. So I would address your behavior. Look at the behavior that's causing the overspending, and the driving force behind why you're doing that. And then look to change that behavior. So it could be something like, if it's your dining out, it could be that you decide you're only going to dine out once a week. Or that your dining out is only allowed to be coffee and you're not going to buy food at all. Or maybe you're only going to dine out when you're with a friend or a special occasion. Or
for me, for the longest time, and I still have a hard time doing this now, I just decided that I wasn't going to drink when I dined out. I would get pop or water with lemon or lime in it. And that saved me, $50 off every bill, because restaurants charge you right out the backside for beer and whiskey.
Another thing could be clothing. A lot of people will overspend on clothing, or just shopping in general. Retail therapy is a real thing. So again, you're going to address the behavior. You could also address where you're shopping. So instead of buying new all the time, maybe you could go to a thrift store and get something at a fraction of the price.
Kind of lumped in with that, it's the idea. I know I've been really bad for this in the past. I know Val's been really bad for this in the past, and I know for a fact that everybody watching this has been bad for this in the past. Is we see something that we kind of want it. It'd be nice if it fell out of the sky and it was suddenly ours. I'd love to have it, and then it goes on sale, and holy cow, I can get this $300 thing for $200. Well, you're not saving $100 on this $300 thing. You're spending $200 that you didn't have budgeted.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing would be to, again, going back to the thrifting. So thrift it if you can. Maybe you could borrow it from a friend. Like for us, we needed a steam cleaner. And one of our friends had a steam cleaner, so rather than us having to go out and buy something that we didn't have money for at that point in time, which would have been like $150 or something, we were able to just borrow it from a friend.
Yeah.
So if it's something that you can borrow until you can save up money to buy it, you could do that. I also like the tactic of waiting. So if I see something that I really want in a store, instead of impulse buying it, I will wait a day or a week. And then if I still want it at the end of that, I'll look at my budget. If I have money for it, great, I'll buy it. And if I don't, then I'll figure out a way to get money for it, either by selling something or just saving up out of our regular income until I can afford it, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And also kind of in line with that, just because you want something and just because you can afford it doesn't mean you're going to like it. The amount of times that I've bought in something that I could not return or exchange and hated it is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So if you do have an opportunity to buy it for super cheap or get it for free or thrift it or borrow it from someone, I'd way rather find out on a $25 chair that I bought from, Facebook Marketplace. I'd rather find out that I hated that than buy a brand new one for $1,000 and be miserable looking at this thing that I hate and can't get rid of.
Yeah. Yeah, again, a big thing really, oftentimes when you're overspending in your budget, it comes down to a behavior or a psychology of it. Either you're looking for retail therapy, or you're impulse buying, or you're not actively managing your budget. Like if you do cash envelopes or if you use a budgeting software, you should always be checking that before you spend money. Don't just go out and spend it and then track that spending when you get home and be like, oh my gosh, I overspent on dining out again.
To be fair, when you're first starting out with your budget, tracking is incredibly important because it will give you a realistic picture of what you're spending and where it's going.
Yeah.
Once you've done that, you want to set a budget and stick to it. Tracking is only part of the picture at that point.
Yeah. Another big thing that people overspend on is groceries. Don't shop on an empty stomach. We are guilty of that.
Okay, true story. When I first moved out on my own, I think it was like my first shopping trip or first or second shopping trip. When I got home from camp, I had to get groceries for my first apartment by myself, and I went on an empty stomach. I literally came home with $400 worth of stuff that I didn't even like.
Yeah, do not shop.
Wasn't going to eat it. Couldn't give it to the food bank or something because it was all perishable. Spent a boatload of money on stuff that I did not like and would not eat because I was hungry when I went.
If you find that you're throwing out a lot of your food, or it's not getting used, or it's getting wasted, or you're not sure what to cook, maybe you could try meal planning. We personally don't do it. It's not something that we enjoy. I dread meal planning. I don't like having to do it.
I kind of meal plan to the extent that at this point, we eat our diet is pretty consistent. It doesn't vary much. The things that do kind of change over time is like with Thanksgiving coming up, we're going to buy like a ham or something that we normally wouldn't. But on the whole, we go through a boatload of eggs, we buy our bacon, we buy our coffee, we buy pasta, rice, frozen veggies. We've given up on fresh veggies basically. They just go bad. Although stay tuned at the end. If I remember, I'll give you a tip for stocking your fridge with veggies that don't go bad. But our diet is pretty consistent, so we do meal plan in that regard. But in terms of setting out, I'm on Monday we're going to have this, and on Tuesday we're going to have that. We just buy our basics and the odd variable every now and then. Now,
if you're somebody who can meal plan, you do that because that will save you money. It'll keep you on a budget. It makes grocery shopping so much easier. If not, figure out what your staples are in the household. Don't be afraid to buy no-name products. It doesn't always need to be brand name. A lot of the times no-name is just as good.
Yeah, so we shop specifically at No Frills when they actually, the store brand product is called No Name. And a lot of their stuff is way better than any of the big brand names. Their chips are awesome. Specifically their chips are awesome, but a lot of the No Name brand stuff is excellent.
Yeah, a lot of stores will have their brand of no name brand, No Frills and Superstore's no name brand is President's Choice. That's their brand, or No Name.
Yeah.
Walmart is Great Value.
Yeah. Costco is Kirkland.
Yeah.
Sobeys is Compliments.
don't be afraid to stray away from stuff that isn't brand name. Again, buying frozen vegetables, frozen fruits, that's a great way to save money. Buying in bulk if you can is a good way to save money as well.
If you have the space and the storage for it.
Yeah, and if you have the amount of people in your household to eat it.
Yeah. Another tip, because occasionally Val gets like a killer craving for Greek salad. So when that happens, we just go to the deli and buy a thing of Greek salad. Because every time that she buys all the ingredients to make it herself, because everyone knows it's cheaper to make it yourself, you can't buy the ingredients specifically to make like one serving of it. So you end up being saddled with ingredients to make like 10 servings of it, but we only want one serving and then it goes bad. So just buy the thing you want from the deli.
The last thing I want to touch on before we wrap up this video is one thing that Cody and I found for us, and this might seem a little counterintuitive, but we were overspending in certain categories every single month. And it was because we were so restricted in our budget that we were becoming resentful. And so it was leading to the psychology behind more impulse purchases and retail therapy and trying to make ourselves feel better about what was going on in our life through dining out or buying the things that we wanted. And what we found really eased that was taking a pay yourself first mentality. And, just as you would take, 10% and put it into a savings account before you do anything else, we would each take 5% of whatever we made. And that was our guilt-free spending money.
Even when we were behind on our bills and we had no paychecks coming in and we got $50. We both took 5% and that was our money to, light on fire if we wanted to. Yeah.
And that really eased we might have to go get Gunner.
Yeah.
His arm's out of the swaddle again.
Oh, heck. But it was basically release valve for all the pressure built up from just the constant grind of no.
Yeah.
Because, you can deny yourself for a week, a month, if it's something really important. I could not dine out for the next month. I could make that happen. I could not buy new clothing for the next month. I could not spend on anything that I enjoy for the next month. But for the next 6 months, the next year, the next 5 years, at a certain point, something's got to give. So if you build those little releases in, it makes it much more easy to stick to your plan. And I think my last idea for not overspending on your categories is be realistic with your categories. If you need to buy clothes, don't set a $20 budget for clothes and then hope you can stick within it. Look at the things you want to buy. Find out how expensive they're going to be. Tally it up and then save that amount.
Get good at delayed gratification.
Yes.
And make sure you have sinking funds. That's going to be another thing. Make sure you plan for the irregular things like your vehicle maintenance and your clothing and stuff like that. And if you're really struggling with it, you can go to cash envelopes, like working with physical cash. It's really hard to overspend in a category when you're physically out of the cash for it.
Yeah. Yeah, when you have $5 on you and that's it because you're not carrying your debit card, you can't spend $10.
Yeah. But again, a lot of this comes down to the psychology behind it and your behaviors. So we're going to wrap this up because our newborn is crying.
Our newborn is screaming. Our not-so-newborn is singing. I'm pretty sure they can hear each other through the vents, and now they're screaming and singing at each other. So we got to go handle this.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. If you guys found some value, drop a like, leave a comment. Other than that, if you like it, like it. If you don't like it, dislike it twice. Remember to follow some of the links and stay tuned for some of the stuff we're doing. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Ring that little bell if you haven't. So you can find out when we do shenanigans like this the moment it goes up. Oh yeah, little dude's mad. We gotta go. So we'll see you on the next one, guys.
Bye.